Everybody, welcome out to our Wednesday night live stream where we talk about history and amongst other subjects. Hopefully, you get to hang out with us tonight. I know Wednesday nights are a little tough for everybody, but I think we got a pretty decent show lined up. We're going to talk about the impact of the carnival slash circus on tattooing. We talked about it briefly last week, and I said, you know what, man, that might be a good topic for us to cover. And I said, you know what, let me pull together some lists and see what I could do. Now, this is not going to be the most comprehensive list ever seen, but it's pretty decent. Hopefully, you guys dig it. Before we get going, make sure you let me know if I sound okay, look okay, everything's working before we get rolling into this, because I want to make sure audio sounds good and we don't have any issues. I already see some people hanging out with us, which is awesome. Glad to see. Um, you know, we have been doing the firsts series, and I thought, you know what? Let's take a break from that for a bit, and let's get into some other important history that I feel as though seems to be forgotten. Maybe a little bit of the younger generation doesn't put two and two together. The circus and carnivals were a huge part in the early parts of modern history, not only here in the United States, but as we'll see on the list, there's some other folks from other countries. Not a lot, but there are a couple names on the list. Sarah already firing away with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Much appreciated, Sarah, as always. But, yeah, so I figured, why not? Let's do this, man. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you want to start talking about the beginnings of modern tattooing, where we're basically going from the hand poke to electric, the circus is definitely an area we need to touch on. We've talked about some of these people in prior episodes, whether they were history episodes I covered myself, or even in some past live streams. We've talked about Maud Wagner, Gus Wagner. There's a couple, but I felt like it would be pretty cool to put together a list, and we would just gotta go from there. Now, obviously, if I'm forgetting somebody, let me know in chat or in the comments below. As always, we try to build on top of what we already have and understand as well that there were names that were going to probably be left off this list because, we've already covered them in depth. Although, secrets out of the bag, Cap Coleman's going to be on this list. But obviously I'm not going to cover everybody, and there will be people left off the list. So hope you all appreciate that. It's good to see everybody. I know I'm excited to do these Wednesday nights, and as long as everybody keeps showing up, I'll keep coming. I'll keep putting them out here because they're fun for me. I think it's a good time for us to hang out and, focus on some other stuff that maybe I don't get to cover on our regular live stream, or that, we don't get to, do full episodes on. So good to see everybody. What's up, Fat Cracker? Looks like we got Drag, Fat Cracker, Sarah, moderator Nikki. So we got a couple people hanging, which is cool, man. I'm sure there are people out there in the internet land that maybe just don't want to chat, which is fine. We're cool with that as well, as long as you're here to enjoy it. So let's get into this. The vibrant, often transient world of carnivals and circuses provided an unparalleled platform for the popularization. Sorry, man, I'm already struggling. It's the first 5 minutes. And evolution of tattooing, birthing many of the art form's foundational figures. From the early 19th century through the mid 20th centuries, these traveling spectacles offered a unique environment where tattoo artists could ply their trade and tattooed individuals could make a living as captivating attractions. Now, we've talked about that a couple different times where, the tattooed circus people some of them are on the list. Not everybody on the list is a tattoo artist. The symbiotic relationship not only propelled tattooing into mainstream consciousness, but it also fostered innovation in techniques and equipment, leaving an undeniable mark on modern tattoo culture. Um, I'm going to make sure I have some pictures set up for you guys, as long as my fucking screen stops freezing. Technology, always fun, always fun. But yeah, so the connection between tattooing and the public performance can be traced back to the early 1800s, long before it became a widespread phenomenon. Before its integration into circuses and sideshows, tattoos were primarily associated with distinct social groups such as sailors, soldiers, and convicts, with these practices largely confined to seaports, military barracks, and prisons. The popularity of sideshows and freak shows in the early 19th century in the United States, designed to complement traditional circuses, offered a novel avenue for showcasing human oddities and unique talents, including extensively tattooed individuals. This shift transformed tattoos from stigmatized markings into objects of curiosity and wonder, driving public interest and creating a now demand for both the sight and the application of body art. So at this point, we're seeing the increase of people wanting to get tattooed and the increase of people wanting to do tattoos. Many of these early tattooed performers would present elaborate, often fabricated backstories of their tattoos, typically involving captured by savages or exotic adventures, to further enthrall audiences and heighten the mystique surrounding their inked bodies. Now, we're going to go into a list of pioneering male tattoo performers, and then we'll kind of roll into some other different influential females. We're also, like I said, going to have, tattooed or tattoo artists as well. But I think that it only made sense to maybe start with the more popular tattooed people, because they were the ones that really kind of pushed this forward. Obviously, people need to get tattooed, so they're just as equally important. But I'm just saying that the popularity, I think, was driven by these tattooed oddities, they were called. And the first one that I have on my list, I did not know about. Actually. So he's a European person from France. Sorry, he's a French deserter. I am stumbling all over words, which is a great thing for a live stream. Jean-Baptiste Cabri, a French deserter, is recognized as one of the earliest figures linking tattooing with carnival performance. Shipwrecked on the Marquesas Islands in the late 18th century, Cabri was extensively tattooed by the natives. With his tattoos symbolizing his integration into their society and making his entry into manhood. Rescued in 1804, so we're talking super early, he returned to Europe and embarked on a career as a carnival performer, exhibiting his heavily tattooed body to a curious public. Although his later life saw him struggling to compete with other amusements and dying in poverty, Cabri's initial performances set a precedent for tattooed individuals as paid attractions, laying a crucial foundation for the circus tattoo tradition. Pretty interesting. So I was expecting to pull a laundry list of people from the U.S., and right off the bat, bang, somebody from France. America's first tattooed showman, James F. Connell, an Irish sailor, who holds the distinction of being the first tattooed man ever exhibited in the United States. So I'm not a real big fan of these firsts, and let me tell you why. My interview with Sharky, I told her that I've been doing the, first professional tattoo artist in the UK, first tattooed professional in Canada, so on and so on. And she said to me, what constitutes professional? And I said, well, you know, established shop, you know, maybe a storefront or a license. And she said, so you're talking about commerce? And I said, well, yeah, I guess. And she's like, well, that's not necessarily true, that to say it's the first. And I really had a hard time disagreeing with her, because there could have been other people before, you know, any of the people that I had already done shows on. They could have had shops. They could have accepted money or bartered, you know, for different things. Um, so I need to rethink that. I need to rethink how I'm wording those episodes. You know, I just was saying, well, it's the first person to have a tattoo shop that was like, you know, in the phone book. So, you know, while it might be true, I don't know if it's necessarily the first professionals. So I'm going to have to circle back with that one and see if I can maybe reword it or rethink how I want to present those episodes. Because I do plan on doing some more of those. It's just, now it's got me thinking. All right. So we'll see what happens with that. James F. O'Connell, an Irish sailor, holds this. I already read that part. Sorry about that. Shipwrecked in Micronesia in the late 1820s, O'Connell claimed he was forcibly tattooed. Now, you're going to see this as a reoccurring theme. You know, I'd already stated it in my preamble that I read, but this is one thing that I actually noticed before when I was doing some research, and we talked about, you know, Hildebrandt and a couple other folks where they had these elaborate stories about being forcibly tattooed. Forcibly tattooed over an 8-day period by voluptuous virgins on the island of Ponape, Ponape, and compelled to marry one of them. Returning to New York in 1835, he became a central attraction at P.T. Barnum's American Museum in 1842, earning fame as the Tattooed Irishman. O'Connell's performances included stripping to display his tattoos and performing an Irish jig, which he claimed had charmed the islanders. While historians dispute some of the details of this fantastical narrative, his widespread exhibitions played a pivotal role in introducing and popularizing tattoos to a broad American audience, normalizing the sight of extensively bodied art. He continued to perform until his death in 1854. Now, let me make sure everybody's still hanging with us and I'm not boring everybody to death. All right, we still got people hanging. Good to see, good to see. The next one on my list is Prince Constantine. Captain Constantinius. It's a rough night, folks. Rough night. We've actually talked about him before, and I'm actually going to show you a picture just to remind you of what he looked like. And I'll leave that up for y'all to look at. Prince Constantine, also known as Captain Constantinus. I'm sorry. An Albanian Greek, deliberately sought out tattooing as a professional career move. A pioneering decision of his era, around 1873, he became immensely popular in circuses, particularly P.T. Barnum's Parade of Freaks, due to his astonishingly comprehensive body art. He claimed to have been kidnapped by Chinese Tartars and forcibly tattooed, but experts believed his 388 tattoos done in the Burmese style were acquired with the intention of entering show business. The tattooing process reportedly took 3 months, with 4 strong men holding him down for 3 hours each morning, highlighting the intensity of this transformation. Constantine's spectacular appearance and high earnings of $100 a day, that's a lot of money back in 1873. An incredible sum at the time, significantly boosted the popularity of tattooed performers and inspired other artists like Charles Wagner to pursue tattooing. Now, I remember getting into this about him in one of my episodes. So he did, all his tattoos were accurate to what Burmese people would do. And I know that they had a bunch of different, smart people, the professor types. I don't know if they were necessarily doctors, but they could have been. That looked at all his tattooing and they were like, yeah, it's accurate. So there was actually some question as to whether or not his story was accurate or if it was a fib. And I don't think anybody ever found out. But does it really matter? I mean, the guy had them, he rocked them, and he made a shit ton of cash off of it. $100 a day back then, he was living pretty good, man. Yeah, so Justin just said 100 a day would equate to almost 1K for us today. That's a lot of money, man. That's nothing to sneeze at even now. So, pretty good stuff, man. Now, let me see here. I do have some pictures that I pulled for y'all. And before I do that, I want to make sure I'm not skipping ahead and showing you some stuff that I don't want to show you yet. There we go. Next guy on my list is somebody that majority of you know. The great Omi, Horace Riddler. Horace Riddler, an Englishman, took body modification for performance to an extreme level, transforming into the Great Omi, or Zebra Man, after World War I. In 1927, he commissioned London's leading tattoo artist, George Burchett, to cover his entire body and face with an inch-wide black zebra stripes, a process that took over 150 hours. Beyond tattooing, Riddler further modified his appearance by filing his teeth into sharp points, piercing his nose for an ivory tusk, and stretching his earlobes. This dedication to becoming a unique freak allowed him to achieve significant success, performing with major shows like Ripley's Believe It or Not, the Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, and Bertram Mills Circus. His acts capitalized on the waning novelty of mirror tattoos by presenting a profoundly altered human form, making him one of the most successful freaks in circus history. And George Burchett, jokingly called him the Great Omi, like owe me money, because George Burchett said that he paid him up front for a little bit, but he never paid him for the full 150 hours. So I find that interesting. Fat Cracker said, "That's more than I make in a day. I think I'll join the circus." Tell you what, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's for damn sure. The next one I have on my list is Professor S.J. Edwards, the Liberty Tattooed Man, and Gus Wagner, tattooist on the road. So, Edward Joseph Spousta, known as Professor S.J. Edwards, was a Chicagoan who transformed himself into the Liberty Tattooed Man with a full bodysuit of patriotic tattoos, including the Spirit of 76 and the Statue of Liberty. He toured extensively with Carnivals, acting as both tattooed attraction and an electric tattoo artist. Edwards also managed his own sideshows, such as S.J. Edwards Congress of Living Wonders, showcasing a blend of tattoo art and carnival entertainment. Now, the next person on my list is, let's see here. I know I have a picture. Wrong picture. There you go. So, August Gus Wagner, another pivotal figure, began his journey as a merchant seaman, learning traditional hand-poke tattooing techniques from tribesmen in Java and Borneo. By 1908, he boasted over 800 tattoos, proudly marketing himself as the most artistically marked up man in America. Gus embraced a 40-year career of traveling tattooist, tattooed man, and circus performer, purposefully bringing tattoo artistry inland from coastal ports to small town America. So that is a key part of this. Now, you figure early, late 1800s, early 1900s, I would say a majority of tattoo people in America were on port cities, New York, Baltimore, on the West Coast, I would say, the Pike area, maybe even all the way up to Seattle. So you figure middle of America, there probably wasn't much tattooed people walking around. Not like today, right? And that is due partly because the majority of the tattoo artists were in port towns. Cap Coleman, in New York City, you had the Bowery with O'Reilly and Charlie Wagner. So it's wasn't real common to see people inland. Circuses, carnivals, changed that. Started to bring those into the mainstream. So he famously changed to the newly invented electric tattoo machines later on in his career, but he was considered to be one of the people that was the last, here we go again, professional tattoo artist. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but some books, some different articles say he was the last professional tattoo artist to do hand poke tattoos, and I don't agree with that at all. Dude, there's professional tattoo artists now that do hand poke. So, at the time, I understand, everybody was trying to switch over to electric and stuff like that because it was the hot new thing and you could tattoo much quicker. But there were still plenty of people that were doing hand pokes back then. His dedication to traditional methods, coupled with his extensive travels, solidified his place as a significant influence in American tattoo culture. Now, we're going to go into the female influential tattooed female performers. I'm going to leave that screen up because his wife, Maud Wagner, born Maud Stevens in 1877, is celebrated as the first known female tattoo artist in the United States. Her journey into tattooing began in 1904 St. Louis World's Fair, where she was performing as an aerialist and contortionist, where she met Gus Wagner, a renowned tattoo artist, and agreed to date in exchange for tattoo lessons. So apparently old Gus was trying to hit up on her for quite some time, and she kept turning him away. And, finally she said, look, if you teach me how to tattoo, we'll go out on a date. So that's what happened. They wound up getting married. It's a pretty damn good love story, if you ask me. Maud learned the traditional hand poke method from Gus and became heavily tattooed herself, using her body as a canvas for her art. Together, the Wagners toured across the country as both tattoo artists and tattooed attractions, popularizing tattooing inland from its traditional coastal strongholds. Her pioneering role not only broke gender barriers in a male-dominated industry, but it also became the symbol of self-expression and challenged societal perceptions of women and body art. Now, the next one I have on my list is Nora Hildebrandt, and I know I have a picture of her in here. I just need to find it. I wish my screen was a little bigger. There we go. I'm giving out some of my secrets early. Nora Hildebrandt, the first tattooed lady. Now, Nora, is going to be one of those. It's going to have one of those, crazy stories. But Hildebrandt made her London debut in 1890, claiming to be the first completely tattooed woman exhibition in a circus. She is widely recognized as America's first professional tattooed lady, beginning her career in 1882 with Barnum and Bailey Circus. Nora crafted her elaborate, though largely fabricated, narrative of being captured by Native Americans, including Chief Sitting Bull, and forcibly tattooed by her father, Martin Hildebrandt. The sensational story, regardless of its veracity, significantly contributed, to her notoriety and attracted massive crowds eager to see the savage marks on a decent woman. Nora's performances, which often involved revealing her extensively tattooed body in a bathing suit, created an intriguing spectacle that challenged Victorian social conventions and paved the way for future tattooed women. So, trailblazer. Now, you look at those stories now and you go, man, that was kind of racist. There is no kind of racist. That was racist. Tattooed by savages and all that. There was quite a few of them that used that same story. I know there was, she's not on my list for some reason. There was a lady, she was actually from Philadelphia, believe it or not. And she had the same story. I thought I had put her on the list, but she's not on here. Her story was that, she was held down and tied to a tree and tattooed for 8 hours a day for like 7 days, while her father had to sit and watch. And her father, that's how he learned how to tattoo and all this other stuff. I mean, it was a crazy story. And, you hear that stuff now and you're just like, Jesus, man, there's no way. But, back then, I guess, and I think that's the whole point of me doing this tonight is understanding how, we talk about social media now and how tattoo artists are using social media as their vehicle to push their artwork and, bring it out to the masses. Well, back then, that's kind of what they were using the circus and the carnivals for. A majority of these guys that were, tattoo artists, they carried that tradition on to the tattooing. They weren't sitting around on a stool waiting for people to come in. They were standing outside telling stories. And, I'm not going to say they were doing like, step right up like at a circus, but they kind of were. I mean, that was part of their whole thing. And they would build this persona. Like, Burt Grimm would talk about the greatest tattooer in the world. And whether he was or wasn't at the time, nobody would know. They were just like, okay, cool. It's kind of like, I think Fat Cracker can vouch for me on this one. You go to New York City and it's like, the first pizza place in New York City, Joe's. Joe's is the first place to have pizza. Well, there's 40 other different Joe's in New York City, and they all say the same thing, or the places that are like the best cup of coffee in the world. I can't think of what movie it was. It was a comedy where the dude was like, it's supposed to be the best cup of coffee in the world, and he takes a swig of it and it tastes like shit. But yeah, it's the same kind of principle, right? Next one on my list is Atora Gibbons, who I also have a picture of. Born May Burlington in 1893, became one of the most highly paid tattooed ladies of her era, performing over 35 years with major circuses like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus and the Hagenbeck Wallace Circus. Never heard of that one. She was tattooed by her husband, Charles Red Gibbons, a skilled tattoo artist. Atoria, a deeply religious woman, had her body adorned with magnificent reproductions of classical religious artwork, including paintings by Raphael and Michelangelo, angels, saints, and patriotic images. Her unique and artistic tattoos earned her the stage name Lady Artoria Gibbons, the Living Art Museum. Her career demonstrated the artistic potential of tattoos and provided a pathway to financial independence for women in show business. Now, I know that Dana Brunson, when I interviewed him, he actually, used to talk to Artoria and Red Gibbons' daughter, and held correspondence with her. So it's one of those things where maybe that their tree of lineage kind of broke off or whatever, but there were people that were still involved with tattooing that stayed in touch with them, with the family. Betty Broadbent, who we spoke about, I guess it was last week or when we did Australia, born in 1909, developed a fascination with tattoos at an early age. At 14, she met tattooed man Jack Redcloud, who introduced her to Charlie Wagner, a famous New York City tattoo artist. Betty invested her life savings to get her bodysuit started by Wagner and Joe Van Hart, and other artists like Tony Reingear and Red Gibbons, contributing to her 365 individual tattoos, which included historical and religious figures. I believe I do have a picture of her. There you go. In 1927, she joined the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus as the tattooed lady, billed as the Tattooed Venus. Betty insisted on maintaining a respectable image, avoiding scandalous tales and overly provocative displays, and later diversified her performances to include horse riding. She even participated in the first televised beauty pageant in 1939 at the 1939 World's Fair. After retiring from performing in 1967, Betty continued to work as a tattoo artist and was posthumously inducted into the Tattoo Hall of Fame in 1981, recognizing her immense contributions. And I think I messed up showing you guys a picture, but that's all right. It don't matter. Ethel Martin, known as Lady Viola, was prominently billed as the most beautiful tattooed woman in the world, tattooed by Frank Graff in 1920. Her body featured remarkably advanced portrait tattoos of public figures such as Charlie Chaplin, Tom Mix, and U.S. Presidents Wilson, Washington, and Lincoln across her chest. She joined show business to travel and work with her husband, Captain Gulliver, a circus giant. Lady Viola performed for decades, including with the Ringling Brothers Circus, and even tattooed others in dime museums during the off-season, embodying the dual role of tattooed attraction and artist. So she was also a tattoo artist. Now, here's another one that I did not know about until I started digging into this. Her name is Mrs. Boram, aka Lida Akado, a German-born performer, and I do have a picture of her. I was trying to make sure I had some pictures to show you guys while I was reading some of this stuff off. There she is. Joined the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus in the 1940s. Her tattoos, created by German artist Hans Ulrich, were distinctive, showcasing a blend of Japanese-American German styles with Art Deco flourishes, earning her the promotion as the new look in tattoos. So, pretty cool, right? Now, let's get into the artist, because that's kind of the reasoning behind doing this. First one is Cap Coleman, who was known as the Human Picture Gallery. I did a full episode on Cap Coleman. If you'd like to check that out, go ahead and look at it on our page. Sought out formal training with Professor Jesse F. Barber in Cincinnati, which further developed his natural talent. In 1918, Coleman settled in Norfolk, Virginia, So he, began his career as a tattooed man, known as the Human Picture Gallery. And, one of the cool things that I actually had in the episode I did for Coleman was his announcement in Billboard magazine, where he decided to say, you know what? I'm not going to go back to the circus. I'm going to stick to doing tattooing full time. And boy, did he turn it into a career. You know, definitely one of the most hailed tattoo artists of all time. Influenced many tattoo artists years and years to come, and still today. Again, if you'd like to see more about him, you could definitely check him out. Now, one of his apprentices that he had, if not his only apprentice, would have been Paul Rogers. Paul Rogers, 1905 to 1990, a native of North Carolina, significantly contributed to the art, mechanics, and technique of tattooing. His early life included hardship working in cotton mills, but he found his calling in tattooing after getting his first tattoo from Chet Kane, a tattooist with a traveling circus. In 1926, Rogers honed his craft and even trained in acrobatics, reflecting his ambition to travel with circuses and work in sideshows. In 1932, he worked his first sideshow gig as a tattooist in Greenville, South Carolina, spending summers tattooing with the circus and winters in the cotton mills. Rogers' association with Cap Coleman from 1945 to 1950 profoundly influenced his knowledge, particularly regarding tattoo machine construction and tuning. He became renowned for building incredibly dependable tattoo machines in his iron factory, and co-founded Spalding and Rogers, a highly respected tattoo supply company. Rogers' willingness to share his knowledge and talent for machine building was crucial in preserving and advancing the secrets of past masters. So, one of the things I'm working on when I get out to California is to do an interview with Brandon Feldman, who owns the Iron Factory. He has the shed where Paul Rogers made all those beautiful machines, and hopefully it works out when I get out there, because I really want to, get that interview down, man. I think it would be all pretty awesome to pick that man's brain. He's got a vast amount of history, and just to see the Iron Factory would be pretty goddamn amazing as far as I'm concerned. That'd be like fat kid going to a cupcake factory. Look, got Chris Hawkins just rolled in. Got Luz hanging out. So we got all right, cool, man. We got some people rolling in. For some reason, the chat just stopped working on my side until now, so I missed a bunch of y'all coming in. What's going on, Irish? Good to see you. We'll get to the comments and stuff here in a second. I just want to knock out these last couple. Charlie Wagner was influential. We know who Charlie Wagner is. If you don't know who Charlie Wagner is, I'm not sure why you're here. I actually, did an episode on him as well, but I did not know, or maybe I did, and it kind of slipped my mind, but he also performed as a carnival sideshow as a tattooed man, sword swallower, and bottle breaker. He was inspired to learn tattooing after seeing Prince Constantine on display in New York City. Wagner apprenticed with Samuel O'Reilly, the inventor really, for the sake of this, we're going to say the inventor of the first tattoo machine. I don't think it's true, but whatever. Wagner improved upon O'Reilly's design, receiving his own patent in 1904 for a two-coil electromagnetic system that became a standard for tattoo machines, making tattooing faster, less painful, and more sterile. He tattooed for over 50 years and went on to become, he tattooed over 50 people who went on to become tattooed attractions, underscoring his pivotal role in populating the circus stages with inked performers. Now, next one I have on my list is O'Reilly, which doesn't talk about him actually being a performer or being a part of the circus. What the main points that they focused on were O'Reilly tattooed up to 12 ladies extensively in the late 1800s who went on to become tattooed performers. Um, you know, there are people that are included on this list that are more in line with, well, they tattooed people that went on to become performers. They weren't actually performers themselves. And, one of the people that I was kind of shocked, there was actually two that were not included when I started to dive into this. And, when I'm doing this, I'm pulling repetitive lists and repetitive articles. It's not like it's just you hit one thing and you go. Now, the person I'm going to bring up is, man, unfortunately, for whatever reason, Sailor Eddie and Esther are left out of discussions a lot, which is bullshit because they did a lot for the tattooing as a craft. But both of them were circus people. They were carnies, and they did their part. They were tattooed men and women, and I think Esther was like some kind of acrobatic or act, or I don't remember. Eddie did tell me, but they were the early parts of their life was the circus, and that's where when I interviewed Eddie, he was saying that that's where his grandpa learned how to tattoo. So for whatever reason, they no matter how many times I pulled this, didn't come up, and it kind of pissed me off. I think that goes back to a discussion I had with Sharky where we were talking about, there's big name people that always come up no matter what, like Percy Waters, O'Reilly, Wagner, Burt Grimm, Paul Rogers, Doc Forbes, another one who was early days doing the circus thing, but there's this thing where it's like there's only these certain people that reach that point, that like epic point of being the super well-known tattoo artist. And I say this a lot, but I guarantee you almost everybody that's watching this right now has somebody locally that they consider to be like a legend, their local legend, their local, veteran tattoo artist that's been around forever. But then, you go outside of your area and people just don't know who they are. Now, is that just because they were like the heads down, just kind of grinded out type of tattoo artist that just didn't give a shit about publicity or whatever? Or is it just because maybe they didn't go in the right circles and meet the right people? Maybe they weren't the type to really kind of like publicize themselves, right? We just talked about Burt Grimm, was the king of publicity. He talked about being in Buffalo Bill's Wild West shows and tattooing outlaws and stuff like that. Well, there was probably other people that were around that time that, tattooed just as well as Burt, and nobody knows who they are. So I don't know if we can ever get into those people, but man, I'd sure like to start digging and trying to find some of those people. Like here locally, we've had RC on our show. RC in our area is like one of our local legendary people. Now, I know why he didn't probably go to that next echelon, but it had nothing to do with being around the right people. He was friends with Philadelphia Eddie. He was friends with Jack Rudy, Dominic Chance, Ernie Carafa. There you go. There's another one that's like, man, that dude should be more known than he is, and he's not, for whatever reason. I don't know why I let it bother me, but it does, because I feel like everybody deserves a little bit of sunlight. It's just my way of thinking, man. let's get into some of these comments and stuff because I don't want to forget my people, man. You're the reason why I'm here. Got a good crowd hanging out tonight. Got a lot of people. Everybody saying hello. The guy, so Drag said the guy who offed somebody, in Germany with tattoo is free. No proof it's from tattooing. Like this, the bus driver is free, not guilty. I was reading today. Oh, so you're talking about the guy, we talked about it on our live stream that supposedly, unalived somebody from tattooing and he's out scot-free. Okay. Justin Smet said Ringling Brothers were from Wisconsin. Chris Hawkins, what's up, brother? Saying, damn near almost forgot. Moderator Nikki said, I just realized her chest piece is a woman riding a lion. I don't know which one you're referencing, but we can flip through. We got Luz hanging out. What's going on, Luz? Good to see you. Got Irish hanging out. What's going on, Irish? What's up, y'all? Currently making a video, and some of y'all will be in it. Okay. That's pretty cool. Amazing traditional design for sure. Mr. Samuel Rye would be amazed with the progression of the machine. I think he would. I think he would be kind of mind blown, to be honest with you. I think a lot of these older guys, that had anything to do with machine building or patenting of machines, right? I think they'd all be floored right now on the way machines are going this day and age. Good thing and a bad thing, right? I mean, change needs to happen. All right. So Justin said, I don't really know any local legends because I moved a lot throughout Wisconsin, but I have met Spike from Spike-O-Matic in Madison. He has a lot of rewards. I think you meant to say awards from the mid 90s to like 2010. You were talking about Maud Wagner's tattoo. Okay, cool. Moderator Nikki said, I have a face for radio. No, you don't. Next up on my list, now that I'm caught up, and I've already showed this picture, but very well known that Stoney St. Clair was part of the circus. Leonard Stoney St. Clair, 1912 to 1980, despite being crippled by rheumatic fever as a child and confined to a wheelchair, found his calling in the circus. He joined the circus at 15 as a sword swallower and soon learned tattooing from other performers. Stoney befriended August Cap Coleman, who taught him the basics of completing a tattoo and provided him with the equipment. Stoney traveled extensively with circuses and carnivals for over 50 years as a tattooist, documenting his designs and techniques to preserve the art form. He later opened successful tattoo parlors in Tampa, Florida, Columbus, Ohio, becoming a revered teacher of the art. There you go. Carnival Circuit also fostered numerous other tattoo artists who were instrumental in spreading the art form, from Commodore Dick, Carl Cullison, Sailor Bill Killingsworth, old-timer tattoo artists who not only traveled the Carnival Circuit but also owned freak shows and live shows. Commodore Dick, operating out of Florida, owned shows like Monkey Speedways and Gorilla Girl shows. Carl Cullison, based out of Ohio, was a sideshow and freak show owner and magician, often tattooing from trucks or trailers alongside other greats like Sailor Bill. Sailor Bill Killingsworth, known as Sailor Bill, worked the circus and carnival circuits for many years, tattooing in places like Chicago and Clarksville, Tennessee. These artists highlight the deeply intertwined nature of tattooing and sideshow entertainment. There you go. So obviously, it has been a lasting tradition that is kind of carried over into today's land, because you know, people like Owen Jensen, you know what I mean? Did a little um, circus sideshow with the Wild Wild West. You know, a lot of people still do Owen Jensen tattoos. A lot of people still do Burt Grimm tattoos. People do Percy Waters tattoos still. You know, it amazes me that sometimes the circus connection gets lost, and it shouldn't. You know, there's obviously things that have went on in tattooing that needed to go off to the wayside, right? We can all agree on that. Whether it's bad taste tattoos or um, attitudes, and you know, some of the more violent aspects of tattooing. We don't have to get into the details, but you know, tattooing's better off without some of that stuff. But there are still things that we should hold on to, man. And the whole carnival slash circus thing is one of them, man. Obviously, it's a different world now with circuses and whatnot today. But you know, one of my fondest memories as a kid was we had a big fair every year, every summer in my hometown, and I tried looking this up, man, and I couldn't find out who it was. But I'd love to know who. There was this old guy that used to roll up a little travel light trailer. He set up shop every year in the same spot, and he'd be in there knocking out 25, 30, $50 tattoos, maybe, you know, some more expensive tattoos. Never seen him do anything bigger than, like, I don't know, man, maybe than your palm. I never seen anybody get anything big, but I'm sure he did them. When I tried looking that up, I could not find anything where that person's name was listed, and I would love to know that information. Just by chance, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's somebody that wound up being a big name person, or maybe he just was just this local dude that just traveled around and nobody, you know, he really, you know, didn't become anything big. I would probably lean more towards that than anything, but you never know, right? I mean, dude, in this day and age, Uncle Ronnie Delacqua, he still goes to, I don't know what fair it is up there near Bloomsburg, PA. Dude, he's still tattooing out that fair every year. And it was cool, man, because I saw a bunch of people post about going to that fair this year and getting tattooed by Ronnie at the fair. And I would say a majority of those people were tattoo artists, but it was still cool to see, man. And to me, that's cool that you're still holding on to that little bit of tradition. So, yeah, so Chris said that's our local legend, Stony St. Clair. Yep. Just looked up. Amon Dietzel was the first documented tattoo artist in 1913. Documented how, though? This is where it goes into, you know, what you're calling professional or not professional. It's like it's that. Dude, I gotta be honest, man. When she hit me with the question, I was taken aback. Like I didn't. I thought I had the answer. I was ready to rock and roll, and then I was just like, damn. She caught me flat-footed, man, and I was just like, dude, yeah, man. Like I'm not really. You know, I'm not really sure how I want to word that going forward. Nathan Kistner just said, really enjoyed your last episode. You talking about the live stream that me and Justin just did, or last week's with the Australian? So the first documented for Wisconsin. Okay, I got you. Dietzel was amazing. Yeah. The most prominent tattoo artist from the fair that you were talking about is Ronnie Delacqua. He started tattooing at that fair in 1983. Yeah, but I was talking about my hometown fair. I don't know who that guy was, and I'd love to find out because you know what? I grew up in a town. Excuse me. I grew up in a town where if you wanted to get tattooed, you had to go to Pittsburgh to get tattooed. You or I highly doubt it, but maybe Johnstown, PA. Um, and I know Pittsburgh has their pretty long lineage of tattoo artists that you know became famous, but I highly doubt any of those guys are dudes that showed up at my local fair. The you and Justin. Oh, cool, man. Much appreciated, dude. You know, we try to do good shows on Sunday nights, man, and sometimes they pop and sometimes they don't, man. And I felt like it was a really good show on Sunday, even though Justin and I both walked in there and we both looked at each other and went, "Yeah, man, I'm not feeling it today either." But you know what, man? As soon as we got rolling and the camera turned on, dude, we were on. We were good. We were good to go. Justin tattooed all day on Sunday, so when he tattoos long hours, he his eye gets like wonky. It waters and it wants to kind of close. I guess from like staring all that whole time. So he was having problems with his eye that night, and it happens to him on occasion on Sundays. But yeah, man, he hung in there tough, dude, and we had. I felt like it was a really good episode. So, um, Chris Hawkins with the 9.99 super chat. Thank you so much, man. Much appreciated. Chris Hawkins said, "I'm really wanting something from Uncle Ronnie." Yeah, dude. I I love that old man, and he's still doing it, dude. I respect the hell out of him, and look, he'll tell you flat out he doesn't tattoo as good as he used to, but I've seen him throw out some work that was like, damn, that's pretty solid, man. I mean, it was you know, it's always a pleasure hanging out with him too, dude, because he has such a great amount of history. Hey, Drag, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. I know it's late for you, dude. Much appreciated, man. Thank you so much. Um, but yeah, dude, Ronnie, he's got some great stories too. I think that's the best part about getting tattooed by Ronnie is the story he can tell you before, during, and after the tattoo, man. Um, you know, I know we're getting kind of close to the end here, but I wanted to want to kind of dedicate this show tonight to a friend of me and Justin, Jersey Dave. Jersey Dave used to, we knew him in real life. Justin tattooed him for damn near 20 years. And he used to show up on and chat every once in a while and hang out with us. And, he was a good dude. He was an Army vet, heavily tattooed, diehard music junkie. He used to randomly just out of nowhere text me and be like, "Hey, man, what do you think about this?" He'd just send me some band, or he would be watching something, documentary about bands, and he'd be like, "Hey, tell me about this compressor." I'm laughing because it's just like crazy that the shit he would just pull out nowhere. But found out late last night that Jersey Dave passed away. He's going to be missed. Apparently, he was dealing with some health issues, and he passed yesterday. But, it's kind of surreal. But, hopefully he's not sick anymore. And, it's weird because Dave would be one of those guys that would kind of drift in and out of your life, right? Dave would be hanging out or 2-3 weeks solid, and then all of a sudden he'd disappear for like a month. And I literally just said to Justin last week, I was like, "Yeah, dude, you heard from Jersey Dave?" He's like, "Nah, man, I haven't heard from him." So we didn't think nothing of it, but apparently he was dealing with some health issues and he passed. So this one's for you tonight, Jersey Dave, up there, hopefully watching. Chris Hawkins said that's more about the experience versus the work. Absolutely, dude. And I'm not saying that you're going to get a shitty tattoo, but the experience itself is pretty goddamn amazing. Um, you know, when you get to sit down and get tattooed by somebody that has that much history and can tell you phenomenal stories of the old days of New York City tattooing before tattooing was legal, and you know, that spent time with legendary tattoo artists, Zeke Owens, Tony Polito, Tony the Pirate Cambria, you know, worked alongside, you know, Pete Giaquinto. Um, dude, as far as I'm concerned, that's gold. You know, to me, it wouldn't even matter if the tattoo looked like shit. It would still be gold because it would be the experience. And you know, like I said, Ronnie's still putting out good work, so you're getting the best of both worlds, which is even better. Um, you know, you're not going to walk out of there with a realism portrait by any means, but you're going to get a solid American traditional tattoo from Ronnie. And you got to respect that, man. Uh, so, Professor Grimshaw is who you're talking about, Justin, is the artist that tattooed Amon Dietzel for Wisconsin. Thanks for getting me into looking into the history artist. Yeah, dude. Man, that's what it's about, dude. Like I implore you to look at the people that are your local legends, your local heroes in tattooing. Dig into it, man. See who was around, who was your, you know, like it's super easy for us, right, in Philly. I mean, you know, everybody's gonna point right to Philadelphia Eddie and Sailor Eddie. Probably gonna be the first two names that are gonna come up on your list. But you know, Jack Dracula also tattooed in Philly. As much as you know, people liked him or disliked him. I think I actually have a picture of him in here. I may have skipped over it, but I thought I had a picture. Yeah, I do. There you go. Good old picture of Jack. Uh, you know, I don't know who it was. It was somebody recently that I was talking to, or it was something I was listening to where they said that he got the. Oh, you know what? It was an interview with Marvin Moskowitz. And he was saying that Jack got that Lone Ranger mask after his kid passed away. Like he went a little nuts. And he got that. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but that would kind of make sense to me. Because I would have to think that you would be in some kind of mental state to get your face tattooed like that, especially back then. You know, this day and age, you know, as you know, you don't see it that much these days either, but I would say it's probably more prevalent now than ever. So you figure back in the, you know, 50s, somebody getting their face tattooed like that had to be like mind blowing. Um, Justin just said Wisconsin is harder because a lot of people didn't talk about it. I know Milwaukee was illegal for tattooing in Wisconsin for a little while. I just don't remember the dates. Yeah. So that sounds about right. On Stoney's video said that Grimshaw was eaten by a snake. Okay. Wouldn't surprise me. uh, got some other cool pictures. It's just, I found a really cool old, you know, circus carnival / picture here. It looks like it was in Detroit. Looks like the date on there is 1938. And it was the Happy Land Shows season 1938. Interesting. I was trying to see if I had any other pictures in here that I didn't show you guys. Yeah, there is. I'm trying to remember. I thought I had these written down. Maybe I didn't. let me see. Hold on. Let's see if I can. This was a husband and wife team, but I'm trying to remember who they were. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember them or not. Yeah, there you go. Ted and Myrtle Hamilton. Another well-known sideshow business couple in the in the 1920s and 30s. He tattooed and she displayed her tattoos. She was popular for having a large peacock back piece done by the legendary tattoo artist Percy Waters, and was billed as the tattooed doll. He was known to have work with the renowned tattoo artist Milton Zeiss, aka Uncle Milty, another great legend of the era, known as the King of Tattooists. So there you go. I kind of don't want to skip over these now that I took the time to pull them. There you go. There's a really, really early, I think that might be the earliest picture of Cap Coleman. So there you go. You know, I feel like I skipped over a bunch of people, and I know we're running out of time, but, you know, there is a long list. Red Gibbons, Dainty Dottie, Owen Jensen's wife, famous circus lady who weighed 600 pounds and was part of the Ringling Brothers Circus in the 1930s and 40s. She is known as the largest female tattoo artist. She met Owen Jensen while seeking tattoo supplies and later married him, working alongside him on the Pike and running their tattoo supply company. Boom. There you go. So I know I skipped over a bunch of these. I was just trying to hit some of the main points, but I think you get where I was trying to go with this, man, and really imploring everybody to maybe dig a little deeper into the history stuff when they have time to look it up and really understand, you know, how there are local legends and why, you know, right now Instagram is so big for pushing tattooing, but it's the modern way of the circus. It's the modern way of promoting themselves. And, you know, like it or not, tattoo artists have to do it in order to get, you know, their artwork out and promote themselves. So I hope you all had a great night. I really dug digging into this one for you all tonight. It was really cool. It was cool to see a lot of old photographs and stuff like that. And, you know, obviously I wish I could pull more and show them, but, you know, it's kind of hard to do flip through photos while you're talking and stuff like that and reading off some notes, but you get the gist, man. I hope you all have a safe, happy week. Look out for Friday. Friday is my day that I'm going to be pushing out the Harry Sita artist interview from Old Ironside in Hawaii. You're going to see some amazing pictures of Sailor Jerry's old shop. You're going to see some amazing special surprise pictures in there as well that are going to blow your mind when you see them. So look for that episode to drop on Friday. I hope you all have a great week. For you all that hang out with us on Sunday, I'll see you on Sunday night. Peace out.